Great. So I want to start off with one question. Who is Aditya?
That's a very loaded question. Cool. So, born and brought up in Hyderabad, studied in HPS Begumpet from class 1 to 12. Did my engineering literally half a kilometer from here in CBIT. So it brought back great memories. For 4 years, I was literally at this junction. I was taking the right turn to go to college every day for 4 years. Did my engineering here passed out in 2002. Went to do my master's in the US in mechanical engineering. Got a lucky break to work with a startup in online advertising in California, and did that for about 5 years between 2005 and 10. Decided to come back to India, initially with the same company that I worked with to help scale up their operations in Noida, in NCR. And then decided to come back to Hyderabad, started Mediamint, then 3 years later, Zippr, Doosra, and I'm sure we'll go into a lot more detail. But essentially, first generation entrepreneur. My dad is a homeopathic doctor, and my mom is a government servant. So she retired the day that I graduated out of college. She took voluntary retirement from government service. So it was almost like she felt like the day both my children pass out of college is the day I will sort of retire. So she did.
Wonderful. So Aditya, what I want to do today is, a lot of what you've done is out there, is written. I want to get to understand who you are as a person and how you think with the conversation today.
Sure.
So I'll ask again, who is Aditya? And things that people don't know about.
I wasn't really expecting this. I had written a whole bunch of notes down about, what I'm going to tell, not just here, but there's
Wow.
So maybe I'll talk about who I was growing up.
Yeah.
Because through the journey, I think you evolve as individuals. And I think my upbringing or whatever was no different. So by the way, we didn't come from like a difficult childhood or anything. My dad was a doctor. Mom was she was a professional as well. We were not found wanting for anything. So when people ask, yaar, struggles batao. And there weren't really like big struggles to talk about other than what kids would, throw tantrums about or whatever. I felt I had a very privileged childhood. We weren't rich or anything. For us, it still meant my dad as a doctor needed to figure out how to make ends meet, and how they needed to, put all of their savings to put me in the best school in Hyderabad, right? So it was, obviously, I was oblivious to all of that growing up, right? I just wanted to go to the aeroplane school. And for people that know about HPS, there's an aeroplane that is actually inside the campus. I was driving in and I said, this is the school I wanted to go to. And, they did everything in their power to make that happen. And now when I look back, so there were two things that my parents did, I think, which was a little bit, which sort of stayed with me for a long time. One is they sent me to one of the best schools in Hyderabad, right? And they did it well beyond their means, right? I had no business spending, 4,000 rupees a semester, or I don't know, I forget now, but ridiculous amounts of money out of this thing to make that happen. The second thing that my dad did was, he put me in tennis. And I started playing tennis when I was 7. And at that time, this is like late 80s, early 90s. Late 80s, India was mostly losing all cricket matches, right? For people that are old enough to know that. And, and just about the early 90s, we started a little bit winning. Azharuddin became the captain of India, and we started winning some matches. So I was like, I always wanted to play cricket. But but my dad said basically, cricket requires 11 players, maybe 22. Tennis requires 2. So you can play that game much longer in your life. And, you'll get to have, you can stay fit much longer if you played this game. I was very disappointed at the time that he was forcing me to play a game, and I wasn't really good at it. I was okay. I used to play some tournaments, mostly lose in first round, and if I was lucky, I would win one round and lose in like second round or whatever. So I wasn't great at it, so it didn't give me a lot of interest. But I continued to play, and I think today I'm very, very thankful that that's the game I picked, right? Because that's a game that I truly enjoy for myself. I continue to play this like 3-4 times a week. So for me, when I look at what my parents did for me, I think those were the two really remarkable things that they did for me.
Were you the only child to your parents?
I have an older sister. She is a year and a half older than me, and we couldn't be further apart in terms of personalities. So growing up, I was a little bit of an introvert, I would say. But I kept to myself. I used to play tennis. I used to go to school. Generally, sort of a little bit of a cheerful child, but not over the top. What happened? So I'll take a little bit of. So when I passed out of school in class 12, this was in 1998. HPS was celebrating its 75th year, Platinum Jubilee, and I'm like this really. How should I put it? I'm like this really. I'm a sucker for nostalgia. Right? And when I passed out of school, I was like, I had such a great time here. I don't want to leave school. So literally the time between when I passed out of school to the time when I joined college, every day I used to go back to school, just hang around there. And during that time, somebody called me over and said, hey, HPS is celebrating this 75 years. Would you like to volunteer? And I was like, this is great. I can get to spend more time in school. So in a way, I was trying to live a lot in the past, but this gave me a good bridge into the future. So during the 75 years of celebrations, I was the youngest volunteer. I got to, work with a lot more senior people, and, did everything from door-to-door canvassing and things like that, because HPS 75 years, we did a lot of events, actually. We had a concert, and we published a book. We had a fashion show, and all of that. So during that time, I was drinking the HPS Kool-Aid. I used to be there morning to evening, volunteering, helping out with putting stickers on cars and everything, right? So that's when I realized that there's life beyond academia and tennis. And in some way, in a lot of ways, I would say that moment really shaped me as an individual. Because then I realized that there's a lot more to life than studying, and there's a lot of other skills, real world skills that you learn as a result of that.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer that you know yourselves by doing things. So did HPS give you that opportunity, and did that put you in that scenario where you could contribute in that 75th year anniversary? What did HPS give to you is what I'm trying to understand, and that environment, what did that create you to shape you to where you are?
See, remember, you're a 17-year-old kid, right? And you really don't know anything outside of what your parents tell you, what your classmates kind of experience with you. But this was completely new, so we would go literally sit at petrol pumps and sell tickets for the 75th year, and you learn to face rejection. We did very interesting things, like we would have to get sponsors for ads for the magazine. So we would go talk to the neighborhood hair salon. Because we figured out a way to make quarter page 500 rupees or something, right? So, and what we know is who we know, right?
Yeah.
So I'll be like, okay, every month I go to that guy for haircut. So can I go and ask him for sponsorship? Right? And these are things that you don't normally do, but then when you're put in a situation, you kind of tend to adapt to it. So for me, all of these, and they were very subtle things, and I'll talk a little bit later about how that helped me do what I did in CBIT there, because in HPS I was the youngest volunteer. So later on, the stuff that we did and what eventually led to the fact that, अच्छा मुझे कुछ शुरू करना है.
Yeah, so Aditya, somebody who came from a middle class family, humble background, went to HPS, one of the best schools in the city now. Where did you live? Which part of the city did you live in the earlier?
Yeah, so we used to live in near Lower Tangband, a place called Ashok Nagar. So born, brought up there, lived there all our lives.
Right.
Because my dad is a doctor, he used to have his private practice right next to home. Like we had like just a part of the home, like an apartment was his clinic as well. And yeah, that's where we lived. We grew up. That area, Secunderabad, all of that.
Interesting. And so what happened? I mean, what happened after HPS? Tell us about that.
So the first 6 months of like, after I passed out, first 6 months of like CBIT, I actually didn't go to college because I was so busy with the 75th year that that like I didn't go to college. I was like, ठीक है बाद में देखेंगे. As a result of that, nobody knew that I was a student in CBIT. So when I started to go back to CBIT, and this is a little bit of where I met Neelima as well, I used to, I mean, hopefully this is okay. Like we used to get ragged, right, as first year students. And for us, the thing was like, अच्छा second year में जाएंगे तो ragging करने का मौका मिलेगा. So then, because nobody knew me in campus, I was like, ठीक है यार किसी को पता नहीं है तो we'll say that we are from final year and so that's how I met Neelima. I acted like I was a senior.
Wow.
But I was her classmate.
Interaction with her, you were ragging her.
Yeah, at least I tried. And what ended up happening, and there's an interesting backstory there. So Neelima actually knew my family for all her life because my dad was their family doctor. But we didn't know each other during that time. So when I tried to rag her, she's like, no, you're Aditya, right? I know who you are. So anyway, that's how I met Neelima. So so that's how the transition.
So happened. You were doing what, mechanical engineering in CBIT?
Yeah.
Why did you choose mechanical engineering, and how did CBIT shape you in your journey?
So two things happened. Like first, why did I join CBIT? First thing, as a rebellious, like I believe, and I have a 13-year-old now, so I have to start believe. I know that rebellious streak is on its way. So I was like 100%. I'm not going to stay at home. So I'm going to go to a college that has a hostel, right? And there was some college in Vijayawada that I had gotten in. So I was like, कहाँ पे जाऊँगा? So somehow my dad tricked me into saying that CBIT में hostel है. So that's how I ended up joining CBIT. And somebody told me, I can't remember now, they said mechanical engineering is as closest to MBA. हमें तो कुछ पता नहीं है. So I was like, ठीक है. So basically what they said is you don't have to study too hard. You can get through. So you can focus on, I guess that's what they were saying. You can focus on other things. Whereas computer science and all electronics, and first of all, I didn't get enough of a rank to get into those streams, but I could have gone to other colleges and maybe gotten a computer science or whatever. But they said, those are too technical, ये थोड़ा उतना ज़्यादा technical नहीं है. So if eventually you want to get into business or do MBA, mechanical is the best stream to take up. And that's how I did mechanical.
Yeah, so some people influenced you to take mechanical, you got into CBIT. What did you do there? I mean, you spent what, 4 years in CBIT?
Yeah, thankfully only 4. No, actually I was a good student. I ended up passing out with a distinction. So I don't want to give people the impression that I had a lot of backlogs and all. I didn't.
Was that to impress Neelima?
No. No. No, yeah, you won't study to impress a girl. That's too much effort. There's easier ways that you, or at least there's shortcuts you can try. Anyway, for us, the 4 years of engineering was very enriching, I would say. And the reason I say that is, I think, like all the time I was always thinking, like, how do I take what I've learned or what I've experienced in HPS into college? So second year of engineering, I started working. I started working for an IT company part-time, and basically they were selling, it was a very early e-commerce website. They were selling basically Indian clothes and things like that to the US. It was called Highway to India. And basically I was sort of working in that team. Now when I think back, I don't really know what I was doing, but I was part of that team.
So second year of college, you were already working and studying.
Yes. So I used to study till about 3-4 o'clock, and then for about 4 hours I would go work out of their office.
Okay. And then how long did you do that work for? How many months?
For about a year, I did that, but then more ideas came in. So that's when I met one of my professors in mechanical engineering. He was also an ex-student of HPS, of CBIT. And he said, we want to do this alumni reunion or whatever. And what time mein kya hota hai, like you basically need an excuse to not study, like what other things you can do, right? And so we said, we will help you organize your reunion. And then there was another student body that was created under the alumni. So like very convoluted stuff, but essentially, I started getting very actively involved in alumni, sort of network and development. So third year of engineering, we helped me and Nilima and 4-5 of our friends. Like, because in all of this, I think friends ke saath karna hi fun hai, right? So whatever we do, we did it all together. So we organized the reunion. We started an alumni website for CBIT called cbitworld.com, and tried to bring in like sign-ups and all of that from across the world.
So is there a lesson there for entrepreneurs, students and people here that, you were doing something while you were in HPS, you were doing something while you were in CBIT. Do you think people should utilize their time really well while whatever they're doing to get results in future? Because I think some of that shapes you.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, and see, obviously when you look back, you can write all kinds of nice, fancy one-liners, right, around this. But I think for me, the real, this thing was, I actually didn't care about outcome. I just said, मेरे को busy रहना है, right? And, for me, doing all of these things essentially meant that I was busy. There were a few friends of mine, यार ये करने से होगा क्या तुमको? क्या मिलेगा? Right? And always used to tell them, boss, करते हैं, बाद में देखेंगे ना?
Yeah.
So that was sort of the attitude.
So was it more busy rehna or was it more seekhna hai?
No seekhna hai yaar. So two things, in college you don't think about seekhna and all. एक तो busy रहना है, second लोगों को impress करना है. I think those were really what you, like, the vanity aspect doesn't go away. But you just have to figure out that वो vanity के चक्कर में कुछ गलत न कर बैठे, right?
Yeah.
So for us, I was doing like mainstream stuff, things that I was excited about, yeah.
Yeah, so just on your early ages, a little more, what values did you get from your family, your school and college? You just mentioned that कुछ गलत नहीं करना है. What are some of those things that you got earlier on that you still incorporate, that you have used elsewhere?
See, again, I'll tell you, talk about HPS, right? And growing up, there was a little bit of always this, not an inferiority, but something not super confident, right? I think that sort of turned a little bit at the end of like 12th class and what we ended up doing in school and all of that, right? So I think some of that journey now, when I look back, it wasn't like how I was in CBIT and how I was in HPS were actually starkly different.
Was very different.
Very different.
Uh-huh.
Because of like how I had become more confident and all of that through that transitionary phase. I think English as a language of communication was it was instilled in us in school, right? Even though both of us knew Telugu, we were expected to speak in English. So things like that, I think that ended up, very subliminally carrying you.
Where did you get that confidence from? Because it looks like you were in school, you were an introvert, you mentioned, but in your final years of school, you got that confidence, and then you carried that on into CBI.
Yeah.
How did you get that confidence?
No, I think as long as you do something, and the response that you get is positive. It just builds. I don't think it's not a switch or a light bulb, right? I think it slowly builds over time. And then we did these other things in CBIT that gave more confidence. But I think the real crescendo for me in CBIT was in the final year of college. We had organized this festival called Carpe Diem. And we basically conceptualized it in Nilima's apartment. Like there were 6 of us that were sitting around saying ki yaar, before, and this is all about popularity and vanity, right? So like before we pass out of college, kuch bada karte hain, right? And CBIT had their own festival, but it was really small, and it wasn't like something that we wanted to do something bigger. So we ended up doing this really large festival where we called Euphoria, the Doom Pichak Doom fame, and essentially that idea went from like a 20,000 rupee event to this really large national scale event in a space of like 3 hours.
Wow.
Like we said, ye karte hain, acha, why don't we do this? And then we came out of that meeting, the 6 of us, and then we're like, yeah, and we never looked back. So basically in 60 days, we organized something that was at that time the biggest Hyderabad had ever seen. I mean, in some ways, that was sort of the real build-up of confidence.
No, I think Carpe Diem was very popular in our days in the city, what CBIT did, and I think it was very popular among engineers as well. How many engineers do we have in the house, by the way? How many of you guys have been to the Carpe Diem festival by CBIT?
They stopped, so I would be surprised if a lot of people went, but it went on. Like a few editions of it, I think, were done over the years.
Yeah, wonderful. So okay, so let's come to your work life now. All right. So you're done with your HPS, you're done with your CBIT. What happened after that? What was your first exposure to work apart from that 1 year work that you did during CBIT?
So right after CBIT, I did my masters, and I think the important thing there is, I think, and another phase of that I'll also tell you, which is more recent, is like we were super active and visible in college, and then we went to do our masters, and there you basically I withdrew a lot because I said, boss, this whole thing visible rehna and whatever is not me as a person, because then you start to get self-doubts and whatever, right? So during my masters, I'm going to be extremely to myself and whatever, right? So I was just hanging out with my close set of friends, and not really, it didn't mean like I became this very extroverted person. So one of the things that I realize now in life is that this label of introvert or extrovert, I think is too absolute.
Yeah.
Right? I feel everybody is an introvert and everybody is an extrovert. So there is a continuum, and for example, my closest friends may say I'm an extrovert, right? But every colleague of mine in my first job will say I'm an introvert, right? So I think circumstances decide whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, and your state of mind decides it or whatever. So I think it's just so for me that was like one of the biggest, I guess, realizations through that process. Like I used to always be confused, like how can I be this and I can and be that. So
where did you do your masters from?
I did my masters in a university called West Virginia University in Morgantown in the US.
Okay.
So yeah.
So how did you choose US? How did that journey happen?
Oh, at that point of time, boss, if you were studied in CBIT, there was a bus right outside campus that would take you directly to the US. It was like that. And then luckily we had our Chilkur Balaji sir, that would get us our visa. Right, so basically you would study here, and then you would apply for your visa, you would go pray there, and you would get your visa, and then you would go to the US.
Yeah. So I lived in Australia as well, and I'd done a lot of 108 rounds of Chilkur Balaji.
Right. We got some credits with him, with Lord Balaji. So after we finished our Carpe Diem, successfully finished our Carpe Diem, our professor, who was sort of the backbone for this entire thing, committed that all 70 of us will do the 108 rounds at Chilkur Balaji. So we were like super tired after the event, and sir says, boss, I forget, I think it was a Wednesday or whatever. ये Friday के पहले we have to all 70 of us have to go finish 108 rounds because that's what मैंने भगवान जी से मन्नत मांगी. So we had some credits with Lord Balaji.
So that's a plug-in for my team as well. After this event, we are also going to Chilkur. So guys, be ready for the 108 rounds. Very guys. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, so US.
Yeah.
How many years were you in US? How did that journey shape?
When we went to the US in 2002 is also the time when the whole dot-com bust happened, 9/11 happened, all of that. So jobs were at an all-time low. So when I went to the US, basically, we would find it very difficult to find housing because none of the people that had finished 2 years of masters were willing to leave campus. Kuch na kuch extend karke they were staying there, right? So I knew that the job market was really hard. But anyway, so I did mechanical engineering because, that's all I could get into with scholarship, right? With assistantship, not scholarship. So I had to go there, find a job, and essentially that paid for itself. But did that for about 2.5 years, and then was trying to find jobs. So there were only two kinds of jobs I could pick. One is I could struggle, get into a Caterpillar or one of these like mechanical engineering type companies, but you had to be actually good at mechanical engineering for that, and I was no good. The second thing was to go be a IT consultant, right? Fake that you have like 9 years of job experience, pad up your resume, sit in New Jersey and go through interviews and do that. Luckily for me, one of my friends had graduated from another school friend of mine. He ended up joining this online advertising company as an IT kind of administrator. So he said there's a job for a sales assistant in this company. Would you want to join? So because it was not option A, option B, I really got excited. And then I interviewed with them, and that's how I got into my first job.
So it was a sales job?
No. Let's not kid ourselves. It wasn't a sales job. I was the assistant to the VP of sales.
Okay.
One of the questions that the VP of sales was asking is, and you have to remember that not a lot of Americans do masters, unlike sort of popular opinion or whatever. So the fact that he saw me, I did a master's and that was mechanical engineering, which means you did some sort of thesis and all of that. Why do you want to sort of work for me? Are you sure you want to join? But I was 100% sure, which is a job that is non-mechanical engineering, जो US में मेरे को पैसा देता है, 100% I will try to make my way in there. And that's how I got in as an assistant to VP of sales, essentially handling all of his administrative stuff.
Okay. Interesting. So was that at Travel Fusion?
It was a company called Tribal Fusion. When I joined, there were 22 people. I worked there for little over 4 years. And when I left, there were about 300 or 350 people with a reasonably large presence in India.
So how did you decide to leave that company? Like, what was that pivot like?
So two things there. 2008 financial crisis happened. So there's two threads going here. One is after Carpe Diem and all of that, and there was some sort of very incidents that happened during Carpe Diem, not in a bad way, in a good way, where I had to motivate 70 people to go out and get 2,000 rupee worth sponsorships and things like that, which I was able to successfully, do, motivate them, not raise money, but motivate those 70 people to do it, which meant that, at some point in my life, I will go start a company. That was at the back of my mind, right? So it was a matter of when I would try that. The second thing is when the 2008 financial crisis happened, I kind of put my hand up and said, India is not going through a recession. So if anything, we should scale up our operations in India. So we had bought a small tech company in India, in Delhi. But I said we can scale up operations. Tribal Fusion bought a small tech company in Noida.
Yeah.
So said, let's go scale our operations there. So I was kind of deputed to do that. So for me, that was like a dream job, right? Dream job because you're working for a US company, sending you to your home country, it can't get better than that. So I did that for about a year and a half, and then ended up quitting and moving on.
So that company was set up in Noida, or were you shuttle between Hyderabad and Noida?
No, Hyderabad. So at that time it was basically between US and Noida.
Okay.
So I was shuttling. I was doing a 1 month in the US, 1 month in Noida, scaling up or hiring folks there.
So you were getting paid US salary while you were in India. You had everything set for you. How did you make that decision to do something on your own?
So there were two friends of mine that basically, one friend of mine that basically said, yeah, he tried to convince me that now you made all the move all the way to India. Let's do something together. And I think I mentioned this before. I think during one of the trips from US to India, I ended up reading this book called Beyond the Golden Arches about McDonald's. And like we were engineers, so we said, yeah, food hai to kya, we'll engineer the food like McDonald's did. So we'll start a restaurant. So I actually quit Tribal Fusion. Neelima had already quit in the US when she moved to Noida. So both of us and two of our other friends, we said that we will start a restaurant business. But we wanted to do very affordable meals for South Indian food. So we started that, but so that's how.
Which year was that?
This was in 2009.
2009, okay.
2009.
So yeah, restaurant business. Idli.
Yeah. So when I saw Ideas Over Idly, that's what that was a little bit of the trigger. But essentially, we went about it in all the wrong ways. We first opened a central kitchen in Begumpet, and we said, "यहाँ पे full equipment खरीदेंगे. We will do food trials, and then we will set up these satellite locations, and we will sell or we will do meals. Essentially, our hero product was meals. We may do curd rice and a little bit of lemon rice or whatever. But
on the surface, nothing looks wrong with that.
No, nothing is wrong. So two things. One is, I think I realized later, just because you like to eat food doesn't mean you go start a business in food. It's much simpler. And by the way, it may sound a little bit, but I think there's an interesting thing here. So please don't think of me as snooty or whatever. Now people say, hey, why don't you buy a farmhouse in Goa? So I'm like, why would I buy a farmhouse? If I don't have one, I can stay in 10 places.
Yeah.
If I have one, I'm forced to stay in that one place. So restaurants also very similar. If you don't own a restaurant, you can eat in 10 places. If you own a restaurant, you're some way obligated to eat at your own, whether you like it or not. So I realized that running a restaurant business is excruciatingly hard.
Yeah.
We had not started the locations, by the way, but we were going about it like engineers. I had bought an Omni van for 30,000 rupees, and me and another colleague of mine, we were basically loading all the food that we had prepared as test food, right? In the sense, like I had like a kitchen, I had chefs and everything, but I needed somebody to eat my food and tell me whether it is good or not. So right opposite Raheja, now it is fully like, there's a lot of like those restaurants or whatever, but there was nothing there. So we would camp out, go there by 12 o'clock. 12 to 2 o'clock, we would serve meals and curd rice. Just to ask people, how does it taste and this and that. But then I realized that I actually don't enjoy it. I enjoyed the fact that I was doing something different, but I didn't enjoy the fact that every morning I had to wake up at 4 o'clock knowing whether the chef would show up or not, because I didn't know how to cook.
Yeah.
Neither did Neelima. So she knew how to cook, but we could barely get by in the US. Like that's how much cooking we knew. So that is one thing I realized. And the second thing was I didn't see myself doing this for the next 15 years. At that time, there was no outside capital, right? You just have to put your own money and all of that. So
yeah, a friend of mine was also running a cafe. He was attempting similar things. He in fact opened 3 outlets, and I could see him like struggling. Food business is very operationally intensive.
Yeah.
People are dependent on the chef, and if you don't know how to cook, then it's a battle.
No, but people tell you, yaar, isme to 80% margin hai. Right? That's the headline that you hear. And then you're thinking, light bulb is going off. Arey, if I invest 100 rupees, then 80 rupees I can take home and whatever. Zero you will take home for a long time.
I think the lesson there is, a lot of businesses from outside look very easy. रेस्टोरेंट चलाना कितना हार्ड होगा, डिजिटल मार्केटिंग कंपनी रन करना कितना हार्ड होगा, कोवर्किंग स्पेस रन करना कितना हार्ड होगा. But then when they come and actually do it, right, that's when they realize that there's a lot of work that goes into building these businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that happened. How did Mediamint happen then?
Mediamint basically happened out of panic, I would say, because I left. Neelima had already quit her job in the US. I had quit my job in like when I finished Noida, and we had sort of sunk all of our. So we had like couple of other friends also as founders in that. So we all put in money. All of the money was gone. So for us now is really to figure out what to do next. And that's when I told Neelima that we will all I know as a trade craft is digital marketing. So let me go give it a shot in the US, speak to a few of my ex-colleagues to see if they'd be willing to work with me. While Neelima was interviewing for jobs here in Hyderabad. So we were sort of keeping both options.
What year was this?
This was in 2010.
2010, okay.
Yeah. 2010, July, August.
So 2010, you were like, oh, what do I do next? And you said you were in a panic at that time.
Yeah.
You decided to go to US, meet a few people there that you already knew. Which part of US?
California.
California. So you went to California.
Yeah.
And you were like, let me meet few people, ask them if they need my services. This is what I know best.
Correct.
And see if you can turn out a business from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, that was the drumming up of the business. We hadn't even incorporated the company when we had two of my ex-colleagues that said, yeah, we'll take a chance with you. And that's how Mediamint started. Yeah.
So your first clients were a couple of your ex-colleagues. How much of a business did they give you and how did that help you start?
The first check was $4,000 and it was like a six-week project or whatever. The second one was actually pretty big. It was $40,000.
Okay.
But of course paid over 1 year or whatever. But I got a $10,000 check. I got a $2,000 check. And essentially, I felt like on top of the world. Like, isme itna paisa banega type, right? But then you realize that to actually to earn that $12,000, you have to put in a lot more effort. So and this was a business that was different than a restaurant because I knew how to run campaigns myself. So Neelima and it was a little bit of a tech project plus operations, but I knew advertising, Neelima knew computer science, so she was a computer science engineer, and the two of us started.
And I can totally resonate with that. I feel that, a lot of times when you're starting businesses, the core of the business you should know. If you're starting a restaurant business, it's better off that you're a chef. If you're running a tech startup, it's better off that you are somebody who codes. If you're running a digital marketing company, you should know how to campaign.
Yeah.
Right? So do you think that helps? And what are some of the things that helps entrepreneurs?
No, I think what that helps you sleep at night, honestly. If you don't know the core of the business, then essentially every morning you're waking up with a cold sweat. But if you knew it, whether I had to put hands on keyboard or not, just the fact that I knew how to do it meant that I could handle it if push came to shove.
Yeah. So just tapping a little more on that transition from the restaurant business to Mediamint. What are you going through? Why you know that your restaurant business is not going well? You are sitting with your family, hey, what do we do next? Right? Is it a conversation that you have with them? Or is it you trying to hustle something in your mind and then start doing something? How was that transitioning happening?
Essentially, there was no discussion with family or anything. I think it was basically me trying to save face. Because everybody said, why are you moving back from India? Everybody said, why are you quitting your job? And why are you getting into the restaurant business? And so for me, it was about saving face. So the only two people that knew what we were going through was Neelima and myself. So I think it wasn't any discussion or anything. And that's why I said Mediamint was born out of panic, because then the other option was, do we go back to the US? But I was on H1B, which meant that there was no easy way to go back. I think that adversity, whatever, survival instincts kick in. A lot of people ask, oh, was this grand plan of Mediamint? The answer is no, it wasn't. It was just a way of making, in some very weird way, making ends meet.
Interesting. Okay. So you got your first few checks after you went to US. How did you come back and set up Mediamint? And how did that journey look like from your first employee to your 10 employees?
I mean, Nilima and I were the first two employees, right? For I think 3 months or so. Then we said, "Acha, ek developer hire karna hai." So then we went and hired one developer. And honestly, we didn't think too far beyond ये दो clients के बाद क्या होगा. We didn't really think about it. We just focused on these two clients. What do they need? How do we service them? So it wasn't too much. There was no vision board or anything. It was basically
It was everyday grinding, you would say?
Yeah. So because I was a product manager while I was in the digital marketing company. Nilima was the coder. So when we were building the platform, I was the PM. She was the developer. We were very self-sufficient. Maybe we needed one more extra pair of hands to code. So it was a little bit very lean. So for us, I think we actually didn't even think we were going to get into operations of the business of digital marketing. We thought we were going to continue to build products like this or whatever.
Yeah.
But the client that asked us to build the product then said, "Hey, can you get us people to actually run the product or run the campaigns on the platform that you developed?" So that's when we hired our first set of people in operations as a company. We started the company in August, and in November or something, I think we hired our first ad operations person.
Okay.
October or November.
Okay. So what were those early days, like first couple of years at Mediamint? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, right? First 2 years is critical. That's when you think whether you want to do this for the next 5, 10, 20 years or not. What were those first 2 years? How did you build from that, you, Nilima and another developer, to 10 people, to 100 people, to about 1,000 people, right?
It's hard to tell in the sense that when you don't have like a grand vision of anything, you're just trying to, the real questions you ask is how am I going to meet October payroll? How am I going to meet November payroll? Right? And then, if you have some revenue, then I think the tax authorities are very agile that way. They will say advance tax pay karna hai. Right? And once you pay advance tax, where is the money to make payroll? I mean, it's kind of stupid, but but it was these day-to-day things, really. Can we afford to hire somebody? Can we afford to buy these computers? It's almost nothing to do with 5 years is like a long time.
Yeah.
I actually never saw myself building a business beyond 30 people. So for me, my ambition was I need to build a 30 people company. That was my ambition.
So I want to tap into how to make a company successful. And you had a phenomenal success with Mediamint, right? And a great exit, right? So what was the value of the exit? Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that value of exit was, how that happened, and what that journey looked like?
I mean, the value of the exit is 9 figures, very high. Sorry, what was your question?
So my question is, what was the value of the exit, right? You originally just wanted to build a 30 people company and you thought, that would be enough. How did you end up making a 3,000 people company?
No, I think when you look back now, see, the journey, one thing that I will give all the credit to my team is that Mediamint had like little to zero luck. Right? We just built a business that intuitively made sense, which means har mahine your revenue has to be more than your costs. Right? And we were profitable like every month, every quarter, every year. Right? So we just ran the business on like core fundamentals. And the luck part for us was the fact that we picked digital marketing. That was the luck. Because, money was moving from traditional advertising to digital. Right? We just needed to not screw up. Right? And just needed to continue to do the compounding effect. And it was a 13-year journey. Hard to look at the end result and say, boss, itna bada exit kaise aaya? Right. So it's just I don't know how to answer.
Yeah.
that.
So what I'm trying to tap into is, for founders here, right? When they're running a company, when do they decide to keep hiring more people? When in your mind, you only thought till 30 people. How did you get to 100 people, 1,000 people, 3,000 people?
Actually, those are all.
Does that add why you get business?
Yeah, those are all statistics that look good looking backward. अच्छा 30 से 100 हो गए, 100 से 300 हुए. That's an outcome of something else, right? Which is, you do good work. One client will end up referring you to a second guy, and the second guy will end up referring you to a third person. So for us, hiring people was a function of getting more business. And I think we just stayed very, very disciplined about the whole thing. And we ended up hiring some really incredible people through the journey, which I think really enabled that.
Interesting. So, okay, as a founder, right, you look at markets as when you're getting into a company, when you're starting a business, you got into a business which was probably a little crowded then, very, very crowded now. A lot of people doing similar things. So how do you choose whether to get into something which is already big, which has a big market, or something that Paulgram says that, start small, build your own market, own 100% of that marketing, expand that market. How do you choose that?
I think in the case of Mediamint, some part of that is true because we were actually in a very small segment called display advertising. And we only did that for 7-8 years. Everybody was like, boss, SEO karo, email marketing karo, affiliate marketing karo, all of that stuff. We kept saying no. I think one of the biggest reasons why we saw what we saw from an outcome standpoint was the fact that we stayed in our lane and we won that lane like anything. Right? Because, let's say our first big client was TED, right? Small contract, but big client. You guys know TEDx and the TED conferences, right? So TED.com was one of my earlier clients. And because of and we were doing ads, and they do ads at the end. They do maybe 1 or 2 ads now, but they did just one big ad at the end. But we did a lot more ads in video, as a process or as a operation. So when that happened, today we work with folks like Netflix and Disney and all of that, right? But the roots go back there. So one guy moved from TED to somewhere else and said, these guys do good work, so let me refer them. So it's a little bit of that underdog story. So we ended up winning business from really large guys like Accenture and all of them, because in our space, we were super competent, right? So to what you're saying about own your market, I don't know about creating a market. I think that's extremely upstream to go. But if there's a market that you can identify, going and really specializing in that and showing that you're a champ there, allows you to have a right to win in ways that became possible for us.
Okay. When did you decide that? And then tell us a little bit about how this exit happened. When did that offer come? Were you prepared for it?
No. So little bit of background. We had a failed acquisition. And then second time around we were successful, and it was inbound. It was right after COVID. We were a 600 people company, going into COVID, and 18 months later or 12 months later we were an 1800 people company.
Wow.
So that was the real hockey stick, right? I mean, a lot of people think that it was a linear journey. where we went from, 100 to 200 to 300. Okay. At the end of 13 years, there were 2,000 people. No, we went from 600 to 1,800 in a space of 12 months. And because we were 600 people and we had a good, solid set of business, it allowed us to really scale when the market picked up, when the market rebounded after COVID. So we had an inbound from a strategic company that said that they wanted to buy us. So just to clarify, we had never raised any capital for, if that wasn't obvious, we had never raised any capital for Mediamint, right? So nobody put a value on the company before that. So when somebody put a value on the company the first time around, and just all the background I told you guys, all of our value was like in this one company. And you remember March 21st, 2020, when Janta Curfew happened, right? Overnight, we lost 27% of our business.
Wow.
Like all my clients called and said, boss, everybody panicked, and we didn't know what the bottom was, right? So me, Nilima, and I forget who else was there. Essentially, I got my team on the calls and said, boss, give me the worst case scenario. And I still have that whiteboard in my house with those numbers. That basically said, har ek client ka we go to the least, what is our this thing? So I think about a 52%. That was the bottom. And then we said, let's look at all our bank accounts. How long can we continue to pay these 600 employees before we have to give up? Right? So that fear was there lurking in the shadow. So when somebody put a value on the table and he said, if it went to zero, then all of these 13 years or 11 years at the time would be for nothing.
Yeah.
So I got tempted and accepted the offer.
What value did they put?
I think I was about 400 crores.
Okay.
Right. Eventually, that company were a public company. So as a result of our announcement and a bunch of other things, our actual deal value went up to about 550 crores. And that was like unimaginable amount of money. So I overlooked a lot of aspects around who is acquiring, how will post-acquisition look, what will happen to the 1,800 people that are there in the company, what will their life look like post-acquisition. I actually overlooked all of that. And the lucky part was I got an opportunity to correct it. Like a lot of people, if I had sold the company that day and that deal had happened, the outcome of everybody in Mediamint after the acquisition would have been very different than what it is today.
Yeah, it's interesting how you rebound every time a setback comes and how you look at that as an opportunity to go to your next level. That acquisition didn't go through. You got an amazing valuation to your company. And then you got a valuation again, somebody else came as well. So how did that happen?
So essentially, I was feeling extremely guilty for two reasons. One is just the way I had not thought through a lot of the things that I mentioned. And the fact that I actually couldn't get a deal done. So even though we were 100% bootstrapped, Nilima and I only owned 75% of the company. The other 25% was with employees. So we'd done like a healthy ESOP pool for employees. A lot of employees became multi-millionaires as a result of this deal. Hundreds of people made significant amount of money as a result of this deal. And for me, that is the element of pride. So when that deal didn't go through, I actually I basically broke down. 10 minutes. And then I said, okay, one more shot. And for me, the goal was not like, let's try to sell again. The goal was, let me make sure I don't make the same mistake again. All the shortcut, the greed and everything. I need to correct myself. So then I went out and got a banker. And I said, this process, we will do everything in the most comprehensive way. Whether the deal happens or doesn't happen, this was a test to myself.
Yeah.
So then we went through like a proper like M&A, got a banker, they prepared the deck, then we reached out to a lot of private equity guys and all of that, and then the deal happened. I mean, I'm making it sound like it happened in a month, but the whole thing took about 14 months.
So it took what, 3 years? That entire process failed.
I would say 2 years.
Process.
2 years. 2 years.
Wow. Who here would like to build a 400 crore company and sell it off to somebody? 400 crore ka company, guys. Can we have a round of applause for him? Give him some management.
I think one of the things that I was going through as an entrepreneur was we started this company, Mediamint. It was doing well from a discipline standpoint. We actually never looked at the money that we were making at Mediamint as anything meaningful for many, many years. But I wanted to do something that felt more, that I was excited about. And one of the problem statements that I picked was the fact that communication of addresses was really difficult in India, right? And that's how Zippr started. But I think this is a lot of the public knowledge that's out there. But I think the real answer, not the answer, but the real insight there was this is 2013, 14. If you're not building a product company and if you're not raising money from venture capitalists, you were no good, right? And I was building a services company at the time. And this goes back to the roots of CBIT and whatever. You want to do things that are popular, right? So we said, ठीक है, product company बनाते हैं, पैसा उठाते हैं, right? And during that entire journey, and this was a long time, right, between 2013 and let's say 21, when we first announced that we are selling Mediamint, a lot of people only knew me as the guy that started Zippr. They didn't even know that I had started Mediamint, and they probably knew about Mediamint in another context because we were hiring a lot of people and maybe colleges knew us or whatever. But they didn't know that the Mediamint guy and the Zippr guy were the same person. And it was deliberate because I was ashamed to tell that I was running a services company. And now when I think back about it, that was so stupid of me. Right? Any company that is giving employment to hundreds of people is a company that you should be proud of having built. But I would not tell that in any public forum, any introduction. Like if you met me, I would say, hey, I'm the guy that is building Zippr. And I drank the whole VC Kool-Aid for a bit. So that's how Zippr happened.
How much money did you raise for Zippr?
Zippr, we raised about 11.5 crores. I put in over the years another 20 of my own. But it was very hard raising money from external people and being responsible for their capital. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were running Zippr and Mediamint parallelly at the same time?
I wasn't, and that's the biggest misconception. When I started running Zippr, Mediamint was 80 people company, 80, right? And I stepped away from I was a little bit of generously you could say I was a hands-off CEO, but over the years I became a ceremonial CEO, right? I was CEO by title, but my Neelima, Anush, Ashay, Jason, few others, they were the ones that really built the company.
So while you were doing that, right, while you were running these companies, how would your day look like? What would you do in a typical day? And how would you manage various things in your life?
No, I think I actually didn't run both companies. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
There was only 3 things that I did at Mediamint from 2013 to whenever. One is, we would have like quarterly. I would basically run the management team. I would basically be the guy I was the management team ka coordinator. Right? Basically, as people were thinking about each of their departments or whatever, I would be the one that would basically coordinate it. The second thing that I would do is strategic hiring. Like I was really good at convincing people to get behind an idea. So I was able to get really senior talent to join Mediamint at a time Mediamint couldn't really either afford them or deserve them. And the third thing that I did was I would be there for special projects. For example, we had opened up an office in Poland, and within 6 weeks we realized that things were they weren't panning out the way that we thought they would. So I basically packed up my bags, and because I was not doing the day-to-day operations, right, I could easily just helicopter into a problem, do like very focused work for 6 weeks, 8 weeks or whatever. So those kind of special situations I would go in and handle it. I was also the chief construction manager for all of our offices. Like, I mean, because you can't afford an architect and all of that, right? So I would be the one that would draw up the spreadsheet, work with the electrician, the plumber, and I could tell everything about this office just in terms of dimensions, what table 4 feet by 2 feet hoga, all of that, right? So all of the offices that were built, I played a very, very hands-on role. And because I was not in operations, I could take that as a project saying 60 days, I'm going to make this office ready. And you guys know all about this. But I did these seemingly separate things within Mediamint, which have almost nothing to do with what we think a CEO does.
In the process, Doosra also happened. Tell us about Doosra.
Yeah, Doosra is similar to Zippr, where I said, every time I would go to a mall or a supermarket, they would ask me for my mobile number, and I would hate it, right? I would hate it enough that it said, let me build something, to solve for it. And that's how Doosra happened. Doosra happened a little bit. So one of the things here is that in interviews and newspaper articles and all of that, you have to be very crisp, saying what is that one moment where you decided to start Zippr? Where is that one moment, or what is that one moment where you decided to start Doosra? And honestly, it doesn't happen like that. There will be many signals that will come to you, and at some point of time, you close your eyes and you open them, and you're like, boss, this clicks. Let's go do this. Right? So in the case of Doosra, it is actually like an evolution of Zippr. Zippr was basically an identity for your home. Right? And a lot of people were asking me at the time, and we were like a 4-character, 4-number. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a Zippr code on a building anywhere in the city. And a lot of people came and asked me, why can't my mobile number be my Zippr code? Right? Instead of telling everybody, I'll just tell my mobile number, and based on that, they'll be able to come to my house. So I was like, great idea from a user experience standpoint, but terrible idea from a privacy perspective. Right? So I met a whole bunch of people here. I gave them my phone number, and tomorrow they show up at my doorstep. Right? Not a great thing. So then I said, Acha, my personal number cannot be my Zippr code. So can I go give you a new number to be your Zippr code? That was the idea. So I went and spoke to one of the telecom operators, and they said, okay, we basically conjured up a solution together for it. And then we realized this whole thing of naya number ke upar ek digital address dalo, and then give it at these places, whatever is too complicated. But we now had this telecom partnership. So I was like, iske saath kya kar sakte hain, right? And then we said, okay, let's do a second number. So the whole thing that happened with mall or supermarket mein, frustrated about sharing your personal number, and the Zippr extension, that convergence is what created Doosra.
Yeah, so as an entrepreneur, right, what do you think? I mean, problem solving is what I see consistently, right? Zippr, you were trying to solve a problem. Doosra, you were trying to solve a problem. So obviously problem solving is one thing that entrepreneurs should know. What are the other 3 things that you think entrepreneurs should have as characteristics to build successful companies?
It's a tough one, and why I say it's tough is because sometimes these things are taken as gospel truths. And honestly, I mean, for me, the way I see it, it's a journey, right? There have been a lot of people, Naveen is here, he's been with us for 5-6 years, so he's seen a lot of these conversations that we've had.
Great. Okay, so tell us about Mediamint, your new stint. I want to start off with your name. What is there in the name Mint? Do you think He'll get you some good luck from Mediamint.
Yeah. So I'm basically trying to steal a little bit of the Mediamint legacy. I actually thought of a lot of names. Then I realized that, Mediamint and success stories, success have many fathers or whatever, as they say, right? So I was like, I need to, leverage the Mediamint legacy. But to be very honest, we've been investing in early stage companies for the last year and a half. I think we only started branding it under VC Mint in the last 4 months. So we back early stage founders with 100 to 200K of capital. Sector agnostic. Post idea stage, when you get to MVP, early traction is when we typically come in, because that's when you're raising like a $500,000 round or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's all private capital, so the VC Mint word is basically to make it sound sexy. Like if you say VC, everybody looks up, right? So we kind of did a little bit, but it's all our own capital. We don't take outside capital. What the advantage of that is, I'm not beholden to other people or returning money in a certain period of time or whatever. This is our personal money that we are deploying into early stage companies.
Yeah, so explain a little more about that difference for people who don't know. So this is your money that you're deploying, right? But whereas there are other methods where people take LP's money and other investors' money, right? So what is the difference between the two, and what are you doing?
So in a typical VC fund, let's say you're raising a $25 million fund, right? You would go in and raise money. So it's not all your money. So you would go in and bring somebody called limited partners. Basically, it's fundraising for your fund. Right? So, and there's an insight there that we should all understand, which is when a VC is coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to write a check, or it's not their money. They've taken money from a bunch of LPs, and in some ways they're responsible for that capital. Whereas in our case, we don't have any LPs. So it's our personal capital that we are investing.
It's more like family office than...
Yeah, so if I say family office, and I've said family office for a long time, people will be like, acha, then you're old school, you only invest in companies that late stage and things like that. So for me, as you can see, early stage business building is a passion of mine. And I'll hopefully build another business in the future. And so so it's a different kind of VC.
You found a way to look cool again by naming yourself, right?
Absolutely. I think that the amount of inbound I'm getting on LinkedIn since we branded it as VC Mint is unreal.
Yeah.
And this happened literally overnight. So I decided to build a website. I decided to tinker around with AI tools. So I created a lovable account. And I said, acha, ek website banate hain aaj. And then I said, okay, I have this one document that I had written for, we hadn't even named it VC Mint at the time, just on family office. So I put that in ChatGPT and asked him to give me a write-up. Gave me a write-up, looked cool. So I said, okay, can I obviously you give prompts, right? Say, based on everything you know about me, give me a write-up about the family office that I'm running. So ChatGPT gave me this really nice thing. I put it in lovable. The website came out. I was like, yeah, acha hai.
You did all that work yourself?
Yeah. And then I was like, logo chahiye. Okay, then we went to Sora and, did logo in 20 minutes. Looked decent. Then on lovable, it said, connect to GoDaddy. So I had a vcmint.com domain, connect to GoDaddy. I said, okay, let me try. I clicked that. It connected, and now suddenly vcmint.com was live. And then I said, okay, let's launch it. And then I wrote on LinkedIn, and that was the launch of VC Mint.
Yeah, only after you wrote on LinkedIn, I came to know that you're running a fund. And I think a lot of people before that didn't know. In fact, you were investing.
Correct. Yeah.
So, okay, how many companies have you invested in? You said sector agnostic. So what do you look for when you're investing?
So we've invested in about 40 plus companies in the last year and a half. So we're doing super high volume investing. We write like 2 deals. We write 2 checks a month.
2 checks a month, okay.
Effectively. But obviously we evaluate a whole
Somebody
bunch.
here wants a check from him this month? Who wants a check from him this month?
Guys, this is still middle of the month. No, I'm just kidding. But essentially, we look for two things, guys. One is we look for a good founding team. We look for, are they tackling a large problem? And I'll tell you why both of these are important. Because why Mediamint was successful is because we were in a large TAM. You guys all know what TAM is, total addressable market, right?
Who doesn't know what TAM is?
It's basically, how big is your industry? What that gives you is it gives you the ability to fail. So even if the first very specific idea in that domain is not successful, it gives you the opportunity to pivot, because in general, in a growing industry, you can make some mistakes and you'll still come out okay, right? But if it's a small TAM, a small industry, or a small idea that has small revenue potential, and you will be if you built it, you would be like 100% of the market. That's a very risky investment for us, right? You have to be in a growing market, and that growing market could be as broad as, hey, I want to be in defense, I want to be in, if you were in digital addressing, I would not fund you, which is what Zippr was, right? So it's a very small market. All my markets are like all the municipalities and whatever. Yeah, good founding team, large market, sector agnostic. Mostly invest in India, but we are seeing a few US investments as well.
Do large markets help you exit? Like, is that why you look at large markets?
No. And again, last weekend I was at some other event. I had a long set of conversations with founders. If I remember, about 12 of them. 8 of them, I was convincing them, please don't raise money. Right? My goal is not to invest in your company. My goal is to help you figure out whether you should raise money or shouldn't. And if you should raise money, and if you're at the right stage, and if everything else makes sense, I'll cut you a check. For me, the biggest thing is I've gone through the journey as a founder. And a lot of people think, the 6 or 8 folks that I said, please don't raise money, is because they were trying to seek a yes from me as a validation of their business. Right? Me writing a 100K check means you're one of the 40 companies I'm taking a bet on. For you, it is the one company that you're spending your life on. Right? So you shouldn't be seeking validation from an investor is the last thing that you should look for. So I tell a lot of people, I actually sit down with them and try to understand, do they need money? Do they need outside money? All of that before we even get to the point of should VC Mint participate.
Tell us about a couple of companies that you've invested in that you're excited about.
There's one company called Janyu Technologies. So they're an industrial robotics company. IIT Bombay founder incubated this idea in college. And his management team is very unique. He's a 26, 27-year-old. The rest of his management team are retired folks, MD of Hindalco, retired MD of Jindal Steel, and things like that, right? And what they do is essentially, in these steel plants, you have smelters, right, which are run at extremely high temperatures. So every 6 months, they need to be cleaned out, the sludge. So he sends in industrial robotics, like a robot inside, to clean the sludge out, right? And that downtime, he's been able to reduce it from 15 days to 4 days. And that means like the plant can be operational for 11 extra days, which means that they make that much more money. And for me, he's used robotics in very specific ways. One is he does this. The other is he does oil tanker cleaning, where it's dangerous for humans to go in. So I thought that was a very mission-driven company that is building. And that mission is what allowed a 27-year-old to convince, senior executives at steel companies to come and join his team. So that is one company that I'm excited
In
about.
Hyderabad-based companies? Given this?
I've invested in a company called Hitwicket, which does cricket on like a mobile game for cricket and does fantasy league and things like that. Nourish You, they're a D2C company. They sell chia seeds and on Zepto and all of these places, like basically superfoods.
Okay.
Then what else have I invested in Hyderabad? A company called Dr. C, which basically does at-home diagnostics. Three of them, one couple and another co-founder, known them for a really long time. I think they do like they've scaled amazingly well. Hopefully, they'll do good in the next few years.
Nice. So, and what is the process to apply to VC Mint? What does that look like? Is there like a call?
Yeah, so I mean, very standard to what other people do, which is you write into us at hello@vcmint.com, and then my team.
Hello@vcmint.com.
Hello@vcmint.com, and then we review. If we feel it's early stage or whatever, we respond back to you saying, hey, it may be too early for us to invest in, but we'll connect you to a few early stage funds. If we feel that the stage of the company is like post MVP, early traction, is when we have our first call. Then we ask for some additional information, clarifications, then do another call. So one of the things is we don't lead rounds. Let's say raising $500,000, right? I'm very disciplined about saying my check is going to be 100 to 200K, which means you have to stitch the other 300K. But the big difference, at least the way that I'd like to say, is if we are convinced, we will tell you, boss, my 100K is committed. We will wire the money once you have the other 400K. And there's a slight difference here. A lot of times when you pitch to funds, they will ask you who else is in the round. Right? Because they're trying to borrow their conviction from somebody else. Acha, wo paisa laga raha hai, to main lagaunga. I said, boss, I have been through enough of that bullshit over the last 10, 12 years, where every investor would ask, who is the other guy that is investing? Then I'm like, where is your conviction in this? So, but that said, we can't wire our 100K. If you need $500,000 and I wire you 100K and that's all you end up raising, then that's a race to death, right? Because you just not raised enough money. So we commit our money, but we participate in the round.
What happens in those calls? How can a founder impress you to get interested?
Why I'm hesitating is I've sat on the other side of the table for far too long to know that this is not a power game.
Yeah.
Right? This is मैं investor हूँ, तुम founder हो. No. I think if both of us believe that this is a good partnership, then we should partner together. Right? There have been cases where we have dealt with things poorly and they refuse to take our money. And that's learning for me. Right? How do we correct ourselves so that we don't put ourselves in that situation again? Right? So it's hard to, I basically reject the very premise of that question, which is how can somebody impress me? But that said, how can you have a conversation? Obviously, you know my background. So if there's ideas that are exciting for you, relatable to me, somebody comes in and says, I want to do something in biotech. I have no clue. If I can get an industry expert to come in and help us evaluate the idea, we will. But otherwise, please understand that if I'm not able to move forward, it is because of my inability to understand that domain. Right? And we try to give as much feedback to the founders as possible to help them.
Interesting. Okay. Any quick final tips for founders here before we break out for audience questions?
The only thing that I will tell is I see far too many pitches where founders will tell what's in it for the investor, and far fewer pitches where founder will tell what's in it for the customer. That needs to change. We need to see pitches on who you're building it for, what is that unique insight that you have that nobody else does, why would customers or why do customers love your product, and why this will be a big business.
Wonderful. Okay. So look at it from customer solving perspective all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you explain your goals to everybody? We just start with building a second marketing strategy and then acting as
In all this knowledge today. So I think we got to know you a little bit more at the day. So thank you so much for this conversation. I tuned in and I'll give you else in the we you had a good time. So I think there's some stuff that I learned all about experience.